Hello everyone, in today's video we're going to be taking a look at cargo. I've been following the Discord quite a bit recently, and if it's not talking about drones, it's probably dealing with some of the issues with moving cargo and sort of understanding the differences between cargo loadouts and the actual loadout of cargo. Now I know that sounds like, oh, that makes sense. It can be a little confusing, and I'm not going to lie. I sort of wish they changed the way this was managed to make things a little bit simpler for folks. So let's go ahead and get started. So here we're sitting right here on the west coast of Alaska. We're up way up here. So this would be a great place to go ahead and test a little amphibious operation. I've got the LPH Iwo Jima here, and inside of it we have a couple different packages. The first thing I have is, if you look at my little ships page, I have a group of RHIBs. These are little, like, kind of like Zodiac boot kind of things. And inside the hangar itself, I have a bunch of Super Stallions, which are great for carrying a bunch of cargo. For those of you who know, an LPH, it's basically kind of an amphibious ship. Actually, we got a pretty good picture up here. You can kind of see it's like a self-contained amphibious little assault vessel. It's actually pretty cool, some of the stuff that it has in it. Things we know about it, I'm just poking around real quickly, is we have a troop capacity of about 1,800. We can contain plenty of personnel, we can contain plenty of mass, plenty of area, and we also have a pretty large pier on the bottom of it as well. Now, where things start to get a little bit tricky is when we actually want to start loading them up with guys. So we're in scenario editor mode right now. So I'm going to go up to unit actions, edit cargo, and it's going to bring up this handy dandy page. Now, you're probably going, why is everything red? The things are red because we can't actually carry them because they're too large. As a matter of fact, if you're trying to make this a little bit bigger, you probably notice that my cargo mass, which is how much it weighs, my cargo area, my cargo crew, we have to make sure whatever we're carrying can fit within the particular space in here. Now, the interesting thing is each unit has a certain limit to the biggest thing it can fit in here. Because we're just an LPH, we're fairly limited here. So I'm going to scroll down here. I'm going to go ahead and find something that's going to work out fairly well. For me, I'm going to load up a bunch of infantry because, why not? So let's see here. Forward observer sounds pretty good. I was hoping for just a good old-fashioned boring infantry platoon here. Let's see, EPCDEF. There we go. Infantry section. Perfect. So you'll notice each one of these infantry sections cost 4 cargo crew space. Going to my Iwo Jima here, you can see at 1806. So if we do 1806 divided by 4, we get 451, which is a lot. Let's go ahead and round that down to 450. Woo, 450. Press add. Oh, I hate it when it does that. Doesn't matter. I'll just do it 10 times. Ta-da! Now I close the screen, you'll notice that I'm now carrying a cargo of a pretty substantial number of individuals chilling on board this ship here. So now that they've all been loaded up, what do we do with them? Well, we can load them on. Let's see here. Double check. I don't see the cargo listed. Let me just make sure I press the OK key. And that's why I like to check things like that, because you'll do the same thing about 100 times in your building scenarios as well. So this is the infantry section. We'll do 45. Add. And I'm going to press the OK button correctly this time. There it is. So now you can see we have a cargo of exactly 1,800 out of 1,806 men. We're not having any mass, and we're not having any area. We're not doing any vehicles here today, so we don't have to worry about that too much. So now that we have a bunch of cargo, how do we get them to the beach? Well, we have 2 different ways we can do that. The first method, of course, is we have a bunch of helicopters, which is going to be the quickest way to get them to the beach, typically. And we also have a bunch of boats. But, to make things complicated, let's do both. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to load up these boats with a bunch of people. I notice that I've got a full capacity here. My docking facilities, I've got a little David, pretty good dock in the back of this thing. So let's go ahead and fill these guys up with some infantry. So I'm going to go ahead and click on load and unload cargo. You can see exactly how much I can carry. I can carry 8 men, not much. So one of the cool tricks, if you press load all, it shoves as many as possible into here. So I go to this one, load cargo, grab my guys. I can do one of these things, load all, press OK. Go to the next one. We're going to go load, unload cargo. Click that one, load all, press OK. Go to this one. I know you're saying, wow, this is a little tedious. Is there an easier way? Oh, yes, there's definitely an easier way, but we'll take a look at that a little later. So now these boats are now ready to rock. It's going to take them about 30 minutes to fill them up with soldiers, which doesn't surprise me. That's pretty quick if you think about it. And again, these guys have this nice, shielded bay down there. So now let's get a little more complicated. Let's look at our Super Stallions. Right now, they're not carrying any loadouts, but that's actually a good thing because we can prove our point here. So I'm going to go ahead and ready arm, and I notice I have a bunch of different loadouts. I have one for Marines, I have one for Marines, I have one for Marines, and I have one for SEALs. I also have one for cargo. Now you're sitting there saying, what's the difference as far as cargo capacity? The answer is 0. The only difference here is our tactical delivery range. Now you notice if I say I want to carry 10 Marines, I get a 475-mile radius. If I carry 838, I only get a 350 nautical mile radius. That's it. Now some of you are probably saying, well, what's it between a SEAL and a Marine? Nothing except a little teeny tiny distance change. You just want to be very mindful of that because it doesn't matter what this word says, it's still physical personnel that you're dragging here. So in my case, I'm going to go for Marines 38X, load them up, and now actually let's go ahead and grab them all so we can shove everybody on board. Ready arm, 38 Marines. A lot of it's what I would consider flavor more than function. So now we have Gladiator 1. He's ready to hold 38 Marines. Load, unload cargo. Watch this. Load all, press OK, and now he's got 9 infantry sections on board. Now you're sitting here saying, wow, this is going to take forever to do this. You're absolutely right. So let me skip this. Ooh, that took a few minutes. But now all of my different helicopters and my ships are now filled up with Marines. And in about 30 minutes, they'll be ready to go ahead and launch them. If you actually look at my cargo now, you'll notice that I still have 1,300 people on this thing. So this is a pretty big boat. So let's go ahead and fast forward time by about half of an hour. And stop. 1 minute off, no big deal. Now all my helicopters are completely loaded. Keep in mind, if I wanted to unload them, I would now have to go ahead and set this up. So let's go ahead and get them getting to the beach here. I'm going to go ahead and press F6. I'll grab all of them and go ahead and launch them in a big group. Now this is a mistake, and I'm going to go ahead and show you why. So we're also going to take the boats now. We're going to launch them as a group as well. We'll launch as a group, and this will be the second of our fatal mistakes here. But exactly, I want to show these things off. All right, we've got our helicopters on the way. I'm going to order them to go to shore here. Have fun, guys. Have fun. Gotta go. Meanwhile, my boats down here I've now deployed. I'm going to go ahead and order them to the shore at flank speed because, it's going to take them a few minutes to get there. So they're on their way. They've just deployed, and off they go. My helicopters get in position. Helicopters get in position. Now, this is where your instincts are going to beat you a little bit here, and that's really kind of a shame because it'd be easier if it worked this way. So I'm now in position to drop my soldiers off here. Now, you're probably saying, oh, we got to hover and jump them all off. You don't. It's actually pretty easy. You can treat them almost as paratroopers, to be honest. So the one thing you think is you right-click here, and you're going to go temp down here, and you're going to press the unload cargo button. You push that, and nothing happens. The reason that happens is if you're going to manually unload cargo, it's by unit. It's not by group. So if I actually were to press the 9 key on my numpad, you'll notice I can now pick individual units. If I come in here and go unload cargo, what he'll actually do is dump off the cargo, assuming that he has the ability to do at that particular point. Now, this is one of those kind of tricky things that you're going to have to kind of get the hang of with this particular system. Because what they're actually going to have to do now is they're going to have to sit here, slow down, drop everything off, and then they can head back home. Keep in mind, if I had any water underneath me or anything along those lines interfering with this process, none of these different units will actually be able to safely unload any of the cargo that I'm just asking them to do. Again, I like to call this the long way of doing this, but it's kind of important that you see it. So everybody goes into hover, they go, they take a few minutes, they're doing their thing, and that's it, they're done. So now we can grab that group, Flight 18 here, and now we're going to go ahead and head them back to base. Now keep in mind, if these were paratroopers, they would fall right out of the back, and you wouldn't have to stop first. But off they go, all my infantry is ashore. Meanwhile, these guys, where are you going? The fight's this way, guys. Whoop. We'll get these guys right up to the shore as well. I'm going to right-click on them. Again, you want to push that unload cargo button. It's not going to work. You have to do it individually. So if I grab this boat, I say, get rid of your cargo. I'll go ahead and move them out of the way, too. I'll grab this guy right here. This one looks pretty good. Go ahead and unload your cargo. Grab this guy right here. Remember, I have a lot of these things. Move him out of the way and go grab this one, unload cargo. All right, good job, everybody. Good job. Good game. All right, everybody head home. Now, you're probably saying, hey, you said a couple minutes ago that if you tried to do that, they wouldn't hover. Well, the reality is, yeah, it's because they're not paratrooper capable. That was my bad. Speaking of paratroopers, what if we wanted some paratroopers? Let's get some. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab myself a Paratrooper Load out. Now, this is where things get a little different. Marines have to be dropped off directly. Paratroopers do not, but that's dictated by the loadout itself. So let's go ahead and get ourselves a little handy-dandy aircraft. We've got, obviously, a C-130H. This is the correct aircraft for this purpose. 1976. I'm going to pick paratroopers here and press OK. I'm going to grab these guys real quickly here. I'm going to go ahead and pause again. Edit. I'll go up to my little cargo option right here. Let's do edit cargo. We have not a lot to pick from here, but that's okay because remember, we can do just about anything. Infantry section looks pretty good. How many paratroopers can I hold? 64. 64 divided by 4. 64 divided by 4. I think that's 16. I don't know. My math is terrible. Press OK. Hey, we did it. So now we're loaded up with a bunch of paratroopers. I'm going to order them to fly over here. Whoops, skip the trip. Looks like we're in a pretty good spot. Now, remember, because they are paratrooper capable, I should be able to right-click on these guys and very much unceremoniously, throw them out of the airplane. So you can see there's a giant stack of infantry just chilling right here. These are all my infantry squads now. Keep in mind the reverse of this is also true. If I wanted to grab one of the helicopters, then of course they'll all go back home. I can actually right-click, and you can also just go ahead and select an item that you want to pick up with that particular unit. Now that's a little bit different. See the select units? Then I'd have to come over here. I have to click on the guy. He'd have to turn around. He'd have to lock in. I'd have to undo the base so that he could safely pick up the inventory. Now, one of the things I said a few minutes ago was, wait a minute, is there an easier way to do this? Yeah, believe it or not, there is an easier way to do this. So let's go ahead and take advantage of that. So I'm going to do the same thing I did the last time. I'm going to go ahead and set these all to be carrying oodles and oodles of Marines here. Sounds good to me. I'm not going to load anybody. I do have to edit my cargo again, as you noticed from before. Remember, I had to carry 450 guys. So let's do edit cargo. Let's go ahead and not go back down infantry. Keep in mind, it doesn't have to be infantry platoons. It could be anything that I can technically carry. And obviously, you can have some really fun. And I think I'll be making a fun amphibious mission in the next couple of weeks, just to kind of prove the point. Perfect. Okay, nice. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a small zone. Let's go ahead and create a define area rectangle. By the way, keep this zone tiny. I can't emphasize this enough. Make sure there's no water here. Make sure it is tiny. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a cargo mission. I'll go ahead and say cargo. Press OK. We're going to make sure that this is a cargo mission. This is important. And I made a mistake already, so I'm going to go fix my mistake. The mistake I made is, remember, there's boats involved here, so we need to make sure that one of these is very, very close to the shore so we can actually reach it with the boat. All right, that looks like a pretty good concentration there. Everything looks good. So now what I'm going to do, this is going to seem crazy, but I'm actually going to pick the units that I'd like to go ahead and now do this for this. So I can go grab all these guys. I'm going to throw these on the group. Notice the mothership shows up here. I can grab their ribs and go ahead and throw them here as well. Now notice we now have motherships. And now also notice we have the items we want to unload. See how there's 450 of these? Watch this. Boop. I've now requested that 450 Marines get loaded into these boats, unloaded on the shore, and then everything goes back and forth, back and forth, back and forth until the mission is complete. So watch. So I'm going to go ahead now to do this. And in just a few moments, we should have... There they go. There they go. Now that's what I call an operation. See all the little ships are coming out? Here they come, here they come, here they come. Here comes the next ship. All right, I'll go ahead and pause. Now notice all those units unloaded inside of this region from the helicopter, and now these RHIBs are here. Meanwhile, on board, you can see in about 45 minutes, the helicopters will be ready to go again to actually go ahead and deliver that mission. One thing that we can't do here is, unfortunately, we can't do this as a quick. But notice now we have buttons like collapsing these and hiding 9 availables and occupation and everything like that. So you can see that's a much, much quicker way to handle cargo. Now, I've heard some interesting rumors that they're going to be expanding cargo to include logistics. But as far as what we know is for those kind of elements, we're not sure yet. Maybe we will see them, maybe we will not. So imagine things like shipping containers, imagine things like bases, imagine structures and things like that that you can move. But that remains to be seen. But other than that, enjoy.